All right. It looks like we are live on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, evening, depending on where you are in the world. Whoop, 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 whoop. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Goddess-ity podcast. Before we jump into today's segment, all about the wonderful world of divination, I want to make sure that I introduce the beautiful goddesses. First and foremost, I am your hostess with the mostest today, Goddess Akili. And we've got Goddess April also on the scene. Hello, hello. We've got Goddess Linda bringing
Hello.
it to us. Yes. And the fantastic Goddess Juanita coming through. Oh, okay. All right. Coming through with a peaceful bow to get everything started, which I love. I am so excited, and I know the goddesses are as well, to be able to talk about these topics with you today. Yes, I said we are going to be talking about divination tools. Each one of us are going to share with you some of our unique experience with the process of divination. But first of all, as you guys hear that word coming out of my mouth, you might be like, what is she even talking about? What is divination? Well, it is the process of seeking knowledge and guidance and connecting to your higher self. Different people will call it different things. People will say connecting to spirit. Some of you may say connecting to God. Some of you may say connecting to the creator. But there's a variety of different ways for us to be able to do that. The goddesses here all believe that we are all conduits and pieces of the Most High. We're all pieces of God, right? And so there should be no reason why we feel separated or unable to talk to, communicate with God. But there are a number of different ways for us to do that. So we're going to have a conversation about that today. Now, for me, I love the use of a pendulum, which we will be talking about. Um, and we'll get into the mix. We'll get into the mix. I don't even want to reveal too much of that right now because we're going to get into it. Goddess April is going to enlighten us about the use of oracle cards. Oh God, which I also love. Oh, Goddess Linda is going to talk to us about the serene and majestic and mystical world of meditation, which is so very important. Also, something that I love. And Goddess Juanita is going to get us into the sacred practice of altar creation and communicating with the ancestors. Come on, Goddess Juanita, taking us back to the truth with that ancient African spirituality. Yes, yes,
Okay.
and more. Yes. Okay, I love it all.
I
So,
can't wait.
yeah, listen, we're here. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of
Mhm.
people taking care of us. All right. So we're going to get into it. So not only are we going to talk about some of the origins of these powerful tools and why some people have some challenges with even considering using a tool like this, but we'll also talk about how they can enhance your spiritual journey and allow you to, in a lot of cases, become more connected with spirit. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. All right. So, let's pop into the world of the pendulum. I'm excited about this because, first of all, my personality is one where I feel like God and I have an understanding. Okay, higher Akili and I have an understanding. And when I say higher Akili, to me, that means the Akili that is very aware of universal thought. That is the Akili that is so big, so expansive, the soul Akili, the spirit Akili, the Akili that knows way more than what Akili here in 3D form can even understand. Because I am limited, if you will, by the senses that we have, right? the physical senses that we have and the physical body. So there are things that become a lot more challenging to be able to get into when it comes to spiritual communication without, really being intent on connecting. And I'm a person that, I like a lot of answers. I like to ask a lot of questions. And so I like to have a lot of tools. Now, for me, I am an auditory learner. All right. So I believe that spirit communicates with me and I can hear a lot of, what spirit is trying to tell me. And it's not like an audible sound. I believe we talked about this before in one of our podcasts. It's not like an audible voice that I hear, but it's something that comes up that I definitely have to listen for. And that's why I call it auditory. Okay. But because I'm an auditory learner, sometimes I have these challenges with knowing, okay, is that me just thinking about things, or is that me actually hearing from my higher self or hearing from God? So sometimes the use of an additional divination tool can be very helpful. The reason why I like pendulums is because what pendulums allow you to do is really tap into your subconscious. And what people may not understand about their subconscious mind is that that really is what's in control of what we're doing on a regular basis. The reason why it's important to also tap into the subconscious is that is your bigger expansive mind. That is where that higher Achille lives as well. So it's like the 10%, if we're talking about an iceberg, if you will, the 10% is like your conscious mind, what you're doing from day to day that you may be aware of. But again, that other 90%, your subconscious mind is what's controlling a lot of your actions and the things that you are not aware of. I need to tap into my subconscious mind a lot of time for me to go deeper and to get answers to, some deeper questions, some things that I want to know when I'm making plans about future, or I'm making bigger decisions, or I really want to, understand if the direction that I'm headed makes sense. Sometimes I want to get some more confirmation from spirit around that, right? So good old pendulum allows me to get a lot of my questions answered. Now, there's a lot of different ways to use a pendulum. For me, I'm very specific to using it to get yes or no type of questions answered. Like I said, I will use it quite a bit when I'm journaling or looking for deeper answers. But there are people that use them for a variety of different things, from being able to find your lost keys around the house to, being able to understand, what you should have for dinner. I'm very specific about how I like to use my pendulum. So, first of all, I know I've said a lot, ladies, and you guys are out there. I just want to make sure everything I'm saying so far is
Mhm.
tracking and feeling good.
Yep. It's
Tracking
true.
and feeling good. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, before I get into the hows behind the use of the pendulum, let's just talk about what it even is. A pendulum is an object that is typically going to be hanging from some sort of string so it can just kind of hang and do its own thing. You can use pretty much anything you want. You can make your own pendulum if you're not someone who's going to purchase one. You can purchase them from what they consider to be the new age stores. But you can make one. If you have something that's plastic, that's a little heavier, you have some crystals laying around, plastic, crystals, rocks, things like that. You can use a lot of different things for pendulums. Now, it is said that you should not use things that are metal or copper, things like that, that are conductors of energy or electricity, because those things can be altered or the answer can be a little wonky when you're using things that can conduct an electrical charge. Okay. Um, so for me, right now, I have a piece of black obsidian, which is a crystal that's extremely grounding. It is also a very protective stone as well. Now, I'm not a crystal guru by all means, but I will tell y'all my favorite color is black. So that's really the reason, the real reason why I have a black obsidian pendulum. But I also have a jade pendulum as well, which is one of my favorites. And I have a pendulum that is plastic that is a little bit more in line with the chakra system. Okay,
Mhm.
just FYI. So today, to demonstrate, I'm going to be using my black obsidian pendulum because it is my favorite. But before I get into the demonstration, let's talk a little bit about where it originated from. Now, y'all know good and well where it originated.
Come on, guys.
Oh, I'm gonna just try to just
Tell us again, entertain us.
try to
Tell us
just
and entertain us, please.
listen. You know that there is so much credit taken away from our ancestors. You know there is so much value that they attempt to remove from ancient African spirituality. But again, I have to continue to question, why would the original people not be the originators of so many of the things that we use today? There
Yeah.
is a view that the pendulum dates back to the excuse me, the cradle of civilization, which they say is Mesopotamia. Now, I'm not here to battle that with anyone. What what question I have is, if I was in Africa with every beautiful animal, fruit, vegetable, lush landscape everywhere I needed around me, right? Pretty much anything you need, a variety of different things throughout the continent. Why would I need to wait to start creating civilization until I'm moved somewhere else? I don't know. So I have 76 questions about that view. I understand where Mesopotamia is said to be located today in Iran. I am not taking anything away from that, but I will say I understand that there is a benefit that comes to certain views if we do believe that the cradle of civilization is there, as opposed to Africa. But I'm not going to I'm not going to give that a whole lot of merit today, because I still have somebody would really have to prove it to me. And I'm looking for scientists and historians that can tell me, that actually look like me and don't have anything to gain from saying what the truth is. All
Mhm.
right. So with that, I digress. But there is a view that in about 8,000 BC, these originated in Mesopotamia. Different people started using them for different things. In ancient Europe, they talked about the creation of the pendulum clock, and through the use of the pendulum clock, they were able to notice certain things and say, okay, well, we can use this for energy and different things like that. Again, I'm always going to take it back to ancient Africa and the birth of spirituality to begin with. Okay. So, what ancient Africans understood is that, again, not only can you use pendulums for different things, in ancient Egypt, they said they were using them to find various things, water sources, to again consult different intuitives before they made a variety of decisions about things. So it's really not that different from how a lot of people continue to use them today. but hopefully that answers a little bit of the question. There is so much information about our history that is just not going to be available, and it's only going to start at a certain period in time, even though we go back way before that. Okay. All right. I'll stop. I'll stop there with the where it originated from because I think we're all on the same page, goddesses, about that.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the challenge that people have with it, oh, people, I think that as someone coming from the world of Christianity, I know that I was taught very strongly not to believe in divination tools in particular because they were tools of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I needed to listen to was the voice of God. Now, because of what divination is, which we discussed, is the ability to connect to God. I don't understand how prayer and listening to the voice of God is any different.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't, right? So I think people have a challenge with it because, again, they have a different view of what it is, and they also have a different view of what we are. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So I hear a lot of people always saying we're a spiritual being having a physical experience. But if you understand what that really means, you know that there has to be other ways for you to communicate and do things. If you
Mm-hmm.
are truly a spiritual being walking around on this planet that just happens to have a body, then you are so much bigger than what these five senses can even contain. And
Mm-hmm.
just because you pray, I don't have any reason to tell people, no, don't pray, don't try to communicate with God. Absolutely do that. But I think it's very limiting for us to believe that that is the only way you should try to communicate with the Most High. And if somebody else is doing it in a different way, that is work of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand why some people would try to make one believe that. That's another podcast for another day. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So let's get into the how you use it because I don't want to, be up all the time. So once you decided you're going to get yourself a pendulum because you want to tap into your subconscious and connect with the Most High to be able to get to those answers that may be a little more challenging for you to hear on the surface, you're going to first put yourself in a situation where you've got your pendulum and you ask it some questions that you already know the answer to. Okay? That you already know the answer to. So the first thing I like to do is ask the pendulum, or I'll either state something that's obvious. Like I'll say, my name is Akili. Do we see the pendulum moving a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Forward and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Forward and backwards. Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, Goddess Juanita. Now, one thing I did not bring up that I need to state is that before I even actually start going into the space of asking the pendulum questions, I want to first find out if my pendulum is going to answer those questions, right? So I will ask it, okay, show me your answer for yes, or show me how you are going to show me yes. Okay. So we see the pendulum moving forward and backwards, right? So
Yep.
that's how it lets me know that this is what it's going to do for yes. Now, if I say, show me no, what does it look like if you are going to tell me no?
It's going right to
Side to
left.
side. Mm-hmm.
Side to side,
Yep. Side to side.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I know when I'm getting a no answer. Now, the belief about the use of a pendulum is, again, because you are tapping into that subconscious, because you're tapping into the universal mind, it is responding to those nervous impulses that your body is then going to put out, that is responding to those things in your subconscious mind. Okay. And it's hard to explain that. I'm explaining it the best way I possibly can, but it's like the pendulum is picking up on whatever shifts that I have in my body that are kind of telling it what the answer to the question is. Now, one thing you guys want to be aware of is if you really deeply desire something, that can change the answer of the pendulum. Okay, so you want to be aware of that. That can change the answer. So you want to get into a place where you get comfortable first and foremost with the use of it. Start with, again, easier questions, right? Again, first finding out how it is going to respond, and then go in with very simple, close ended yes, no questions. When the pendulum does not know a yes or no concrete answer, it will circle. So if I say, okay, show me you don't know, or show me the answer that you'll give if you don't know,
Great.
right?
Yep.
So if it doesn't know, it'll tell me that it doesn't know. Okay.
Very good.
Right. So I love a pendulum. It is very helpful because I can go deeper when I have questions, essentially. And if I need more information, I can ask it another question. But you have to be careful with it. The reason why people have challenges with it, I think, when they start to use it, is because they ask it questions that are too complex, or they ask it questions that will not result in a yes, no. Okay. So you don't want to ask it multiple questions like, what should I have for dinner? Because obviously you can't respond. You can't tell you that. But if you say something like, oh, I'm thinking about going to a restaurant tonight. Should I go to Hula Hands? It's going to give you an answer one way or the other, right? So you just want to continue to keep working with it to see what your subconscious has to say. So I love
Great.
it for the clarity. I love it for the clarity.
Love
Great.
that.
All right.
Well,
Look
I
at
learned
me,
a lot.
22 minutes.
Yeah. Perfect.
Shall I try? I try.
Yeah, super.
In my little box. Okay.
I'm gonna have to
So
get you one of them.
go ahead.
I have one, but I've never used it. I've never tried the pendulum. I had it, but I never really used it. So now you got me excited about trying out my pendulum.
Yeah, just get in there and start playing with it at first and just getting comfortable with what it's telling you. Like I said, different ones kind of give me a different feel. Some of them may represent, I don't know, a little differently. It might go into a different direction than another one will. So make sure you ask it those questions first to find out how it's going to respond specifically to you. And then, like I said, you can jump on in and start asking it that yes or no questions. And then it can evolve to something even more if you want to take that practice to the next level.
Okay.
Great. Great
Love
Mhm.
that.
information.
Yeah, love it, love it. Okay, so I did say that Goddess April was going to be talking to us about oracle cards. Goddess April, are you coming up next, or are we going to be talking to Goddess Linda or Goddess Juanita?
I can go,
Okay.
but if someone would like to go before me, I'm okay with that as well.
All right. All right. All right. It's all good. Goddess April is gonna
Yes.
take us into the magical world of oracle cards. I love oracle cards so much, but I don't want to cut this beautiful goddess's wisdom in any shape, form, or fashion. Goddess April, take it away.
Child, listen, I will take all the help I can get. I got my little notes, so I don't forget anything.
Yeah.
Um, no, I really like oracle cards. I got started with tarot, depending on how you say it. Okay, potato, potato.
Mhm.
But I got started with tarot, which is much more systematic. So for those who, it's a whole system, right? It's comprised of way more than oracle cards, because you actually do want to learn, because it's been predetermined what these particular cards represent. And so you have to learn them. Now, can you use them intuitively and just decide to kind of make them into oracle cards? You can. But you may as well just get some oracle cards, okay? So oracle cards are they come in a deck, okay? And I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to show you what the front of this one looks like. African Goddess Rising, okay, by Aviola Abrams. So they come in a deck, usually anywhere from 30 to 60, but that amount can change. Each card is going to represent something via imagery, artwork, words, phrases, affirmations. It really depends on what the intention was of the creator of the deck. Usually there's an overall arching theme to the deck. So as you can see with the African Goddess Rising, this is all about connecting to ancient African deities, goddesses, gods, Orishas, from the diaspora. It's an array of folks in this deck. The cards are beautiful. And there's a whole way that she put these together. It comes with the guidebook. Okay. And so you don't have to know exactly what these cards mean. You can use the guidebook as a reference, but a lot of people choose to actually use them intuitively. This is why I really like, I think, oracle cards, as someone who wants to definitely practice connecting to and trusting my intuition. I love that with oracle cards, you know, it's really using what you feel is it's telling you. Okay. Whatever you feel like it's guiding you and telling you, you can go by that. But again, there's always the guidebook too to help you um get clarity, get an understanding, it gets some thoughts provoked and things like that. So it's really up to you how you use it. There is no right or wrong with oracle cards. Okay. Um, so okay, so that's what they are. Okay. They are used to help you get clarity, get insight, and answers. Okay. Same way like the pendulum does, right? Now, as far as origin, um, now tarot, they kind of can trace back to maybe the 15th century or something like that, in terms of like having some place in time to say that's where it started from. But like Goddess Achilles said, I'm gonna go with the goddess on this one. We're gonna trace back. Even if it didn't look the same, I don't care. Maybe they were stones, okay? But the idea of using divination tools, even if the way that they look, right, but the way that they function and their purpose, I'm with you on tracing them back, okay, to
Mhm.
the motherland.
Mhm.
Like I said, tarot, they say maybe 15th century, oracle cards, 19th, 20th century, and there's no real traceable history as far as them. But what is, you know, pretty agreed upon is that, they draw upon mystical, spiritual, and religious traditions and influences. Okay.
Mhm.
So, you can have anything from gentle guidance, right? Because you may be in a place where you are wanting some love, some tender messages from Source, Creator, God, right? Because whatever place you may be in, all the way to cards that I know, decks that have been designed for people who want it to be told like it is. Okay, there's cussing on them, all kind of stuff. Like, get your ish together. That's, you know what I'm saying?
I
Because
need those cards.
You said you need that one.
Yes, give me a card that got some curse words on it. Father, mother. Okay.
I'm serious. I'm serious. Um, there are they are themed, like I said, so you can have ancestors and gods and things like that. You can have fairies, you can have spirit animals, okay? Um, uh astrological, okay? Some that are even they take it a little further. I have a deck that even has the Cosmic Journey Oracle. There's journal prompts connected to this. So this is you really wanting to go deeper. Okay. So it's like a combination of journaling and receiving, right? That insight. So the way that it works, it's pretty the same in terms of spreads, right? Where you can draw one card, three cards. You determine what those cards are going to represent, getting into the how you use them, what they're going to represent in terms of answers, right? So you may do a daily draw and just do one card. A lot of people may start their day that way. And just say, I would just like some guidance from Source. What do I need to know for today as I start my day? And they'll just draw one card, right? Now, before I go into more into spreads and how they're used, there are thoughts that you are needing to cleanse cards. There are things that you may need to say before using cards. Again, I am going to say, let that be determined by what you are comfortable with. Okay. I believe that whatever divination tool that you use, make sure that you feel comfortable even using it. I'm not saying don't try it if you're interested, but if you're afraid, then I would say maybe wait until you do a little more research. Maybe after this podcast, you'll feel more comfortable, but get a little bit more familiar with it before you dive in, because you are putting your energy into whatever it is that you're using. And so when I say that is, if you're looking for answers and if you're specifically using cards, depending on the cards, and you're afraid or you're in a place that is off, or, you will get messages that will let you know where you're at that time. And so that would be a disservice to yourself, and you're not getting the most out of what you can get out of this divination tool. Okay, because there's really nothing to be afraid of. They're just like Goddess-ity said, they're an intermediary, right? It's a tool. That's all that it is. You are the conduit, you are the receiver, you're the antenna. And this, you are saying, Source, I'd like to use this as a way to communicate with you. And then Source says, okay, let's see what we got going on here. And so depending on where you're at, that's what you're going to get. So if you are at peace, if you feel good, and you are intentional and you know what it is that you want to receive, then that is a good place to be when going into using divination tools. I just wanted to say that. It's like a little sidebar. Okay. But now, as far as spreads, again, you can do a daily draw, like I said. You may do a 3-card draw, which could represent past, present, and future, right? In regards to a particular situation, and you want more information about it. right? A lot of times I may do 2 cards where I ask maybe what is hidden, right? Something I don't know about something, and then ask for some advice on how to move forward or navigate the situation. And then you can always draw another card if you need clarity. You want to state, you want to be clear as you're asking the questions. So I'm very happy that Goddess-ity, because like I was telling her before we got started, me and pendulums, I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm not sure. But it makes so much sense. I don't know that I was as clear as I could have been in setting that. Basically, it's getting clear on the vocabulary almost, or like, right, so that you and source are on the same accord in terms of how that information is going to be transmitted and what it means when it does what it does. So that's the same thing with oracle cards. You want to be very clear before you ask to make sure that you're getting the right answer. Okay, I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
So, so in it, I mean, they can be used, let's see, for daily, like I said, to get your day started, to get clarity on a situation. Some people like to use them as, say, for a daily affirmation, even. Right? So, someone who likes to practice affirmations, you may not want to create an affirmation, or maybe you don't want to keep using the same ones or what have you. Or maybe you say, maybe source knows what I need to be focused on today. And so you ask for an affirmation for the day. And depending on what you get, you can use that throughout the day as something that you affirm. Another thing that, another way that it's used is that creatives, folks who are artists, writers, business owners, and things like that, it is a great source of like getting inspiration, getting guidance, because we know we can get stuck sometimes or in places where we're not sure on what the next move should be, or it's just a little blurry or whatever. So that is another way it can be used, is to help you get clarity that way, get some answers on what would be great for you in terms of your next move in your business or art project or whatever endeavor you have. Okay. So in terms of choosing a deck, I would say whatever speaks to you, right? If it just looks beautiful. There's so many decks I've picked because I just loved how they looked. And when I looked at them, they gave me a feeling and I felt a connection to them, right? So I would say definitely that, or it could be where you're at the moment, right? There was a time when, excuse me, I was really starting to hear a lot about star seeds and being from this idea of having lived other lives outside of this one, and kind of having a remembrance of that. And because of my childhood and things that I experienced, that perked my attention up. And so I actually got a deck that's called the Star Seed Oracle. And so it's gentle messages for folks who resonate with this idea of being a star seed. And I just thought that the imagery on some of them, and the light is not gonna be my friend right now, it seems, but some of them, it's just very beautiful. Okay, yeah, but I don't think y'all can see them that well. But it's all of these ethereal, cosmic, it's beautiful imagery. And I'm just going to be very honest. For me, if a deck does not have diversity in it, it usually does not speak to me, right? If a deck does not have some folks in it that look like me, usually if it has people in it, then I just feel like it's not talking to me. Okay, that's just me. And there may be a few exceptions to that rule. It depends on the day, right? I really don't get caught up on that. It's not really about that, but it's something that I recognize that I do ask that question, and I go look and make sure. But sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just meant for me to have. It's speaking to me because race is a social construct damn way. Anyway, so I'm sorry. Let me hurry up and wrap this up.
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay.
So benefits, right? Again, I've said a lot of them is you can self-reflect, you can get insight. Oh, I hear some feedback.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was Goddess Juanita's magic mic. Okay.
So,
But reflection, insight, clarity, guidance, emotional support again, because I've been in some deep, dark places. And like I said, those cards that have gentle, loving messages have been amazing at times when I've needed them. Personal growth, right? So even like the one that has journal prompts and things like that. And astrology, the star codes and stuff like that. It helps you get deeper insight about yourself if your signs and stuff like that. And I even have a deck. I said something about affirmations. And I don't know, some people might not classify it as an oracle deck, but it's called Awakening Your Intuition. It's an oracle deck and guidebook. Again, I was just in a place where I really wanted to rely on that. And it doesn't have any imagery, it's all words, but it's been developed and constructed to help you do exactly that, to awaken that intuition, to tap in and to start trusting it. So using that card deck has been great as well. So again, creative inspiration and just really having that spiritual connection. If you struggle with or have maybe even just begun to have your own relationship with source, which you always have and always will, but become consciously aware of it and have decided to take this spiritual journey, oracle cards can be a beautiful way to help you start to cultivate that relationship and trust it, that you do have this relationship with source. You can receive direct messages, right? And it can really add to your spiritual journey in a really beautiful way. So,
I love that so much.
yay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I learned a lot of information.
I'm sorry. I feel like I was just like,
It feels like that when you're in the tool and you're talking about it and you're so excited about it and you know what we want to cover. That's why I was like, I tried to.
Yeah,
I know. I have to keep it short.
I tried.
Because I can keep going, but
That's right. Exactly. You're that passionate about the topic that you can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
No problem.
I love that, Goddess April. So now that we've learned a little bit about
I had one more thing before Goddess April moves on.
what are we doing?
Yes.
Can you demonstrate how you use the deck? Can you draw a card for us and tell us what it's saying?
Oh, sure. I didn't even think
Goddess
about it.
Juanita, she just asked
I know, right?
down here.
What deck should I use?
I'm in show and tell. Show and tell.
That's right.
Goddess deck. You know what? Use whatever you feel comfortable.
Use the goddess deck.
Yeah, whatever deck you want to use.
Exactly. I was about to say, don't let me influence anything.
I was going to, I'm like, maybe I'll just do the awakening your intuition.
Okay.
But
usually do whatever you feel.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I'm in a really good place, but I will say this. Usually before I interact with the deck, I do get into a place, right? It's almost like you meditate, you get into this place that you feel that you are clear, you feel calm. There's an energy, and I can't explain it, that I feel like I'm in before okay, you guys know. Before you start, right, getting into it, right? Because you just want to be there. You want to meet source, right? You want to be ready to receive. So I'm just saying that because, like I said, I do feel great, but I am going to ask that we receive a message for the collective, for us, for anyone watching, in terms of using our intuition. What could we all benefit from hearing at this moment in time? Okay. I'll just ask that.
Ooh, I love information. Oh my God.
Ooh, okay. I felt like it was going to be purple too. All right. Number 64. Adopt and adapt intuitive rituals. Of course. So it says rituals are not necessary to access your intuition. It's so funny. We're doing it on divination tools. Of course we would get this. Okay.
Further clarifying.
Right. So rituals are not necessary to access your intuition, but for some people, rituals may heighten, encourage, or focus intuition. Rituals can be as simple as lighting a candle, saying a prayer, placing your hand over your heart, ringing a bell, or sitting in a certain spot. Adapt the rituals of others. So I think that's pretty cool. That's so interesting. I think it's encouraging you to be open, right? Too. So
Okay.
that is an example of getting a message that I feel like I just feel like it's not a coincidence that we pulled that and we're doing this podcast. Okay.
That's right. Look at Spirit letting everybody know it's all good.
It's all good.
Yes.
It's safe. You're good.
Into it. Love it.
That's right.
All right.
Love that. I appreciate that, Goddess Juanita. I didn't think to do that.
Very nice. Okay. Well, Goddess Linda is about to come up to the forefront and share with us some of the just amazingness of meditation.
That's right. That's right. So, meditation. Thank you, Goddess-ity.
Yes.
The ancient Egyptians, the Commissions, called meditation Smami Twai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So it means the union of the lower and upper nature of the human entity. And this practice involves seeking guidance and connection with the gods. So I use meditation as my number one go-to for connecting with source and my higher self. So I'm just going to jump right into it. And I got my little notes here. What is meditation? It is a practice that helps you recognize, understand, and accept yourself. Why should we meditate? To connect with source energy. How do we meditate? You sit still and you don't think. And that, my goddesses, is meditation.
Woo!
All right.
No, I see the wheel spinning. April, you're like, okay, come on now, Goddess Linda. I know you're career right now, and you're right. I do have one more question, and I forgot to add that is why is meditation important? So, author, her name is Jen Sincero. She said, it's not your fault that you fucked up, that you are fucked up, but it is your fault if you stay fucked up. Now, what does that have to do with meditation? Now, looking back over the last 8 years or so of my life, and I was struggling. I was struggling emotionally and mentally, and so I was on this quest for self development, and I had implemented the practice of meditation. And it has been my number one goal and will continue to be my number one goal to live as authentically as I can and create the life that I desire based on my beliefs, not the beliefs that other people have conditioned me or attempt to condition me to believe as true. Um, because there is a good majority of people on this planet today living a semblance of a life based on someone else's belief system. They
Mhm.
don't know what they believe and they don't know why they believe it in the first place.
Mhm.
But every single one of us arrived here on this earth with everything we need for this journey. Did
Mhm.
you know that? We already have that. But do you believe it? You might be asking yourself, you might be asking yourself, okay, if that is the case, why am I struggling to figure shit out?
Mhm.
You're questioning your behavior. Why did I do that? Why did I do it again? Why do I keep doing it? What's wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? So during my self-development quest, it also put me into that space of researching the brain, which helped me better understand the importance of maintaining my 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 practice of meditation. And so we have two minds, and Goddess Akili has already spoken on one. Those two minds are the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind is the one that we're most aware of. This is the mind where we think and we think and we think and we think again and we think some more. This is the mind where we analyze. This is the mind where we worry, where we obsess, where we plan, where we figure problems out. One plus one is two. So the conscious mind, um, from birth is under construction until around puberty. Some people hit puberty early around 8 and some don't hit puberty until around 14. So let's just say we average this out to around age 11. So it's under construction for about 11 years. From the moment we are born, we are constantly being fed messages from other people about um, the way things are, the way things should be, the way things can't be, the way things could be. We are, um, and some still are, being fed this constant diet of these messages, of these beliefs that may not have nothing to do with who you really are. And they may not even be remotely true. So, prime example, earlier this year, as I was sharing with people that I was visiting Mexico, 75 to 85% of the responses were fear based. But here's another one that might ruffle some feathers a little bit. Going to college is important. And I'm just going to leave that there for right now. And I'm going to come back to these two examples. So remember, I said that we all arrive fully equipped with everything we need for this journey. Well, that information has to be stored somewhere, and it resides in our subconscious, which is also the non analytical mind. Okay, so the subconscious is about our feelings, about our intuitions, about our instincts. But here's the kicker, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's true or real and what's not true or real. It believes everything it is told because it has no filter. And 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 this is what else is interesting about the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind, as I said, we're still being developed at birth. So the subconscious mind, so all those messages that we've been receiving, it's going into our subconscious mind. So over the course of 11 years, whether it's true or not, whether it applies to you or not, that's where it's stored. So going back to my two stories, I asked myself, how is it that my well-meaning family and friends thought Mexico was a dangerous place? Why is it that my brother believed that college was important and regretted not getting his career, his degree? So a little story time here. So my brother and I, we were having on the phone having a conversation, and he admitted he had, mentioned to me that he regretted that he didn't get his degree. So basically, as I'm listening to him, it's like the emphasis of society and the weight that it puts on holding a degree and obtaining your degree and equating that to be successful. It basically had my brother doubting himself, and I was not having it. So I went in on him, and I'm challenging his belief in what he defines as success. And I'm like, hold on, okay, I got some facts for you. And so I'm telling him, fact number one: approximately 45% of college graduates have a job that has nothing to do with their field of study. Fact number two: many people go to college with that goal in mind, that they want to open their own business, be their own boss. Fact number three: I'm telling him, you accepted a paid summer internship that had nothing to do with your major. You fell in love with it, you developed a passion for it, and you decided to accept a full-time job there, and you dropped out of school. Fact number four: um, you then further developed that skill in our garage, which then got you a promotion. Fact number five: you started doing extra work on the side, which eventually developed into him having this full blown company with several employees. Facts number six that I'm telling him: from your business, the salary that you pay your employees are supporting their families. It's paying their mortgages, it's paying their bills, it's buying their groceries, it's taking them on vacation. And I'm like, so fact number seven, um, I said, you've been able to create a lifestyle, a nice lifestyle for you and your family and some of your extended family members. And so I'm telling him, I said, so what you are doing now and have been doing over the last 40 years is what a lot of people dream to have achieved. And so um, I'm like, stop, don't buy into this message that college is important or it's a marker of success, because it was your perseverance, it was your dedication, it was your discipline, it was you showing up every day with these things, with or without a degree, that got you where you are. You define your success because you are successful in your own right. Okay. So I'm gonna calm down because that was, an emotional
Yeah.
moment that I had with him because he was being vulnerable with me,
Mhm,
and as you can see, it still has a effect on me.
mhm,
So, but where are these messages coming from? Where
mhm.
did this belief come from? And as SpongeBob so eloquently stated, I heard it from a guy who 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 heard it from another guy's cousin.
You know
So
what?
if you I don't know where I'm going with this. So if
Child.
it's our subconscious, so no, so if it's our conscious mind that thinks it's in control, but it's not, and our subconscious mind that doesn't do the thinking but is actually in control,
It's crazy.
how can we then, master that subconscious mind so that we can expose and eradicate those underlying false beliefs so that we can then gain control over our thoughts, over our actions, over our emotions so that we can create and co-create that beautiful life that we so desire.
Mhm.
And that is through meditation, my goddesses.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, but this time I will expound a little bit more on the questions that I so quickly ran through earlier. So, what is meditation? It is a practice that helps you recognize, understand, and accept yourself. Initially, this might be hard to do. Um, it'll be hard to sit with the ugly truth of yourself.
Mm.
Not because a guy who knows a guy said so.
Mhm,
It's just coming from firsthand experience through my own meditation practice. Now, why should we meditate? The goal of meditation is to quiet your mind, to release that laser focus that we have on the 50, 11 million thoughts that's running through our brain, so that we can actually connect to source and our inner divinity's guidance. Now, before I talk on how to meditate, let me share some tips with you first. So, tip number one, start out small, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and use a timer. Now, honestly, I would suggest that you dial that back to 5 minutes. Um, have you ever experienced yourself or seen another parent try to get a 2-year-old to sit down, be still, and just eat? Because it's not going to happen without a fight. So now I want you to picture that your body and your mind is that 2-year-old. It's going to want to get up every few seconds. It's going to feel like it's being tortured because it just doesn't want to sit still. But as you conquer your mind and your body by repeatedly ignoring that request to get up, eventually your mind and your body is going to surrender and you will sit still and your mind will be quiet. And then at that point, you know, suggest adding on maybe 2 to 3 minutes and just keep doing that until you can build it up into that time. And tip number two, do not overthink your meditation practice. There's no right or wrong way. There's no magical set number that you got to sit down and do this. And there's no hard and fast rules on how and where to sit. And tip number three, meditation is not a one and done experience. What's important is that you do it and you be consistent. So here we go. This is how to meditate. So just find that comfortable place to sit, and no distractions, no disturbances, whether that's on the floor or in a chair. You can place your hands and arms on your lap or on your knees. Then you want to, sit up straight. I try to think about when I'm sitting up straight, I'm getting my chakras in alignment. And then next you want to close your eyes. So then it's time to put your body into this a relaxed state. And I do that by taking a deep inhale and drawing that breath into my belly for a count of 6. And then I pause and I hold that breath for a count of 4. And then I slowly release that breath for a count of 6 again. And I repeat this about 3 or 4 times. And then the next thing that I do to further relax my body is I just simply command my body to relax. I do this by just simply placing my focus on specific body parts. So start my forehead, relax. And it's just 1 second. Place that focus, say relax. My ears relax, my eyes relax. But I'm saying this to myself. So I focus on every body part and I work my way down until I get to my body, the bottom of my feet. And once I've finished instructing my body to relax, and then bring your focus back to your breath. And you just want to notice the flow of it going in and out. And you want to keep doing that until the time is up. Now, what's going to happen is that 2-year-old is going to show up. And a 2-year old's gonna like take your mind and want you to focus on everything around you that they deem to be important, but just bring your focus back to your breath. Now, if you find that to be challenging, focusing on your breath, because I focus on when it hits my nostril, oh, it's kind of cool. And I just focus on, oh, I can feel it going up and down in this way. But if you find that to be challenging, another tip is to count. Count 1 to 30 slowly to yourself. And when that 2-year-old shows up and takes you off track and focus, start over again. It'll get to the point where you'll finally make it to 30, and you'll just keep doing that until your time is up. And they'll get to a point where you won't even have to count. But these are just tips to help you if you're just a beginning in the meditation. And so that's how you meditate. So I just want to further say is that, so if you are serious about making life altering changes to your life and see significant improvements in all areas of your life, incorporate meditation. These are some of the things that you will benefit from by doing so. Um, you'll find that connection to source and your inner divinity. You'll be more relaxed, which will open you up to receive those downloads. It strengthens your intuition and magnifies your creativity. You will hear your inner goddess voice clearly. And then you'll also have this overwhelming goodness. It's just this increase of this light and love and higher vibration. And most importantly, that's you will develop this increase in self love. That right there. Mm. So, so now imagine all of that goodness going on inside of you. What could possibly be going on outside? Goodness. Because what's inside is going to be mirrored outside of you. Now, the final question: why is meditation important? As I said earlier, Smami Tawi is Smaitawi. It's the union of the lower and upper nature of the human entity. It's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind coming into alignment, making all possibilities possible.
Woo!
That was good.
That
Yeah,
was. That
I like
was.
that.
Really
I
good.
feel relaxed and I didn't even do any
I
meditation.
know.
I
I
know. That's so funny.
I'm like, oh,
That was great.
I took a couple deep breaths and I was like, yeah.
Good.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Can I
you,
just
Goddess
say
Linda.
something?
Yes.
I was really happy that Linda was going to cover meditation as a divination tool. I don't know if I said this to you ladies or not, because I feel like people don't look at it that way, right? Like the world, like meditation is very widely talked about, right? It's become very popular.
Yeah.
And that's amongst all cultures, religions, and whatnot. And I don't think that it is the most easiest, free, natural divination tool that you could have, right?
Yes. You don't need
Um,
nothing but yourself.
exactly.
And it ties into everything that you and Goddess-ity has said so far. You get yourself into that space first before you then, use your tools.
Mhm.
It all works hand in hand.
It does.
It
I love
does.
that.
And I'm gonna say one last thing too about divination. And well, I'm gonna say one thing about meditation because it sometimes can be seen as something super challenging to do for all of the reasons that Goddess Linda said. So I think about utilizing guided meditation and somebody who they consider to be the father of meditation, which is like Joe Dispenza, even though whenever you go to his website, you see the Eye of Ra on there and the top of a pyramid with a fresh eye in the pyramid. All I'm telling you is
Mhm.
listen, exactly. Know what it is. Okay. Good. Very good. I just love this. Compliment. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Well, Goddess Linda has graced us with the magic of meditation, and we are going to round out this wonderful divine podcast with Goddess Juanita giving us the real deal on the ancestral plane. Goddess Juanita, take it away.
Hello, hello. I am so glad to bring this before you. So, I kind of have two topics to talk about. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about ancestral veneration and what it is and altar building. Basically, it's a practice where you're honoring and remembering the deceased family members, right? Or your ancestors through rituals, ceremonies, and offerings. This practice is rooted in the belief that our ancestors continue to influence our lives, even though they've moved on to, I would say, another dimension, right? And so basically, this practice goes back probably like 12,000 years. I mean, if you look at ancient Egypt, you will see elaborate tombs and pyramids dating back to like around 3000 BCE. In ancient China, they had worships with Shang dynasty. So really, in West Africa, everybody has some type of worship or some type of where they built altars in remembrance to their ancestors. I mean, just going back to thinking about our altar, our bodies, our bodies are an altar, and we should respect and care for them. You know, we just did a series, 2 series ago about self care. But basically, our bodies are an altar, and we have to be very, I guess you could say, conscious of what we mentally and physically consume with our bodies, right? And there's so much things that try to distract us from really focusing in on ourselves and really doing things like Linda was talking about, Goddess Linda talking about meditation, those things to calm our minds, walking in nature. But all of those things are very important for us because people think that self care is selfish. Taking care of your body temple is selfish. But really, all these things that we're talking about, getting in touch with ourselves, getting in touch with our divine selves, the meditation, calming ourselves, it's really allowing us to go back and get that power that we're supposed to have, that power that we forgot about. And that's one of the things with the altar. When you talk about altar, some of the things that you're actually doing with the altar and what you're trying to get from it is you're trying to get wisdom, just like Goddess-ity was talking about with the pendulum and with the Goddess April talking about with the oracle cards. You're really sometimes sitting at the altar because you want to get advice, right? You're seeking something. You're wanting to get something. You're looking for wisdom. And when you're going back and talking to your ancestors, what you really want to do is you're trying to connect with them and you're wanting them, whether it's your ancestors or spirit guides or whatever, you're wanting them to help you as you're going through this life's journey. Because it's kind of like when somebody made an example of saying is, let's just say you had to cross the desert. And let's just say you could walk or you could drive. And it's kind of like when you go through life, but you're not being in contact with your intuition, with your ancestors, these spirit guides, all of these things is there to help you make this journey easier. It's like you're walking through the desert, although you have transportation, you choose not to use it, right? So we can tell from a walk in the desert, it's going to be hot. It's going to be much more challenging, right, to walk through the desert than it is to drive through the desert. So just think about when you're preparing an altar and you're going there to meet, either you're going to just meditate and get, information from yourself, or that secret places where you go and talk to your ancestors. You're doing it because you're trying to identify your purpose and you're trying to get advice about your life and you're trying to get those things quicker than you would get them without their guidance, right? So you're wanting them to help you along your way. You're also wanting them to maybe help you if there's some generational curses. One of the things that I learned, and I'm going to demonstrate my altar in a minute. One of the things when I started sitting at the altar, one of the things that I learned, because I was really curious about the fact that I never met my mother's father, right? I never met. And so when I started talking to my mom about, whatever happened to my grandfather, I never met him. Then she tells me she never met him. And she doesn't even know. It was like it was something that was never discussed in her life. So when I set up my altar and I started going, I thought it was very important for me to make a connection with my grandfather on my mother's side, because I felt like there was something there that for whatever reason, the people that really knew, like my grandmother, my great grandmother, they weren't here to tell me, not knowing, they never told my mom. So even if I sat down to talk to them, I don't know if they would really tell me. So one of the things I just started thinking as I was doing it, I said, okay, so what do I need? Because a lot of times when you have an altar and you want to speak to someone, and I'll talk to them and demonstrate it. You want to bring something to that off to the altar, like an offering. You want to bring some food that you think they might like, or for my grandpas, I really didn't know. So I said, okay, let me think. Most men like cigars, they like whiskey. So I bought whiskey. I poured whiskey. I put it on the altar. I bought a cigar. I lit it. I even took a couple puffs. I don't smoke. I don't smoke cigars. But I felt, but when I sat there to talk to my grandpa, it was kind of like, okay, you just need to puff on this, get comfortable, lay back. And so I did. I took it,
Nice.
puffed a couple times, blew it out. Said, that ain't too bad. You know what I mean? I was just getting real comfortable in the world. I don't smoke, but I just felt the need to do that. I mean, when you go before the altar and you're going to talk to you just don't know what they're going to say you need to do. And what I have learned when I go and and it's kind of like when I go to my altar and I go every day, uh, it is amazing how when I get up, it's like it's like they tell me what they want. They tell me if it's some kind of fruit, if it's some kind of vegetable, maybe it might be some nuts. They might want something to drink specifically. I mean, it's amazing how it will just their spirit just speak to you about what they want on the altar today. So whatever they tell me, that's what I put on the altar. But when I went to go talk to my grandpas, one of the things I did too, and I'll talk a little bit about that, is I wrote them a letter telling them how much I appreciate the life that they led because without their life, I would have no life. And when I went to talk to them, when you go to talk to your ancestors, at least for me, I don't see like I see with the eyes in this physical world. I see, but it's a sight that is so hard to explain. It's like seeing through your heart, but without eyes. It's like you're seeing something, but you're not using your eyes to see it, right? It's like something else being revealed to you. But when I got before them, what I felt was just I felt pain, I felt shame, I felt
Mm.
humiliation. I just felt so much pain. And when I felt that pain, I was just like, I am just so sorry because what I felt from them is that they were just so mistreated in so many ways by not only because during the time when they were in the 1800s and 1900s because of the whole slavery and racism, but even amongst the family they were mistreated. And
Mm.
I mean, really, at that time, I boohooed, I cried because it was really just so sad to know that there were people in my line who I never even got a chance to meet, but it seemed like they weren't even given a chance, within the family. And I know it was something taboo because my mom said she never even got to meet her father. It was just like she said she asked, and then she was just told, no, you can't meet him. And so that in itself was strange to me. But then when I went before them, I understood. But I told them, I love you. I'm sorry for the pain that happened with you. I'm not sure what was going on, but I love you and I thank you for the life you led. And with that, I felt a little bit of a lifting up of that pain. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
felt like that was something that needed to be said and needed to happen with me and my ancestors. But what I'll tell you, when you start going to them to talk, they will show you visions of things that are going on right now. They will show you things that when you see it, you will think, okay, I'm not sure if this is this lifetime, my next lifetime, but it looks like it's in the future. You know what I mean? And so you'll just get all kinds of things and different things. So I would just say for me, what it has done for me, it's like sometimes I'm just in one of those places, like just like what you were saying with the oral cards or the pen. You just want to know a message for the day. Sometimes I just say, hey, what do I need to be aware of today? What do I need to watch out for? And they'll give me a message. Or sometimes it'll be more like I'm asking them a question and trying to seek an answer, right? So it's different every day. Sometimes it might just be, I want to honor you. I'm pouring libations for you. I honor you. I thank you so much for this life. And, you know, thank you. Just thank you for being here. Sometimes it's just really, really simple. Uh, but every time I sit down there, it's something new. So I try to go. And when I miss it, I tell you, when I don't do it one day, it feels like I missed out on something. It's like I had a date and I was going to get some really important information and I missed it because I didn't show up, right? So what I like to do today, as we talked about ancestors and altars, that I like to just kind of demonstrate a little bit of my altar, but I wanted to kind of go over a couple things because when you're putting together an altar, it's a very sacred thing, right? Just like I was talking about your body. And one of the things, as Goddess Linda was talking about, you want to meditate about your altar. You want to think about when you're doing an altar, you don't want to just go and start doing things. You want to just really sit down. You want to take some deep breaths, like Goddess Linda said, and you want to think about, you want to visualize your altar, how it would look. What are the things you would put on it? What are the things, if you wanted to, connect with your ancestors, what are the things that you would think they want? You want to go through that. You want to reflect on that because it's something that's very sacred, and it's something that every little thing that you put on there has to mean some things to you, right? So you want to reflect on that. You might want to also think about, where you're going to place the altar. You want to have the altar somewhere where it's not around a lot of people. People are not going to be going in around your area. For mine, I have it in a corner in the back room that nobody really never goes into, right? So I know that area is not disturbed. I also put black tourmaline in every corner of that room so that will, be protection in that area. And so you want to have it somewhere it's not going to be disturbed. You don't want people to go around here because that means whatever energy they have, they'll bring that energy into your space. And then when you're trying to communicate with your ancestors, you might have difficulty. So you want to think about that. So the next thing I want to do is just kind of demonstrate to you my altar. And I have it on a bigger spot, but here I feel like I can kind of demonstrate a little bit. So let me see. I had done this earlier. So I want to kind of demonstrate, and hopefully you guys can kind of see this. It's kind of like the other thing when you're building your altar, you want it to be out of some kind of natural surface. It needs to be probably more likely wood, or you can have a crystal off it, but you don't want to do plastic or anything. You want everything to be natural. You want it to be from the earth, right? And then usually I put a cloth on top of it. I usually do white, but you can do any color that has some significance for you on your altar, okay? The next thing that I usually add on my altar is I usually have the Ankh on my altar, and I have it right in the center because that for me means it's life. You know what I'm saying? It's eternal life. That's it. I have my Ankh on there. The other thing I also have on my altar is I have my Aunt on there because I always want to remember that whatever I'm doing, I'm seeking balance. I want truth. I want justice. I like everything that Maud represents because basically Maud represents to me that we can actually soar above our trials, our tribulations, any of that. So that's on my altar. Also, I put on my altar usually a crystal bowl with water. And that is because I'm also trying to bring in the four elements, but also water attracts negativity. So any negativity that's in the room, the water is going to catch that. And so usually every time I come to my altar, I actually empty whatever water's on here, go get some fresh water, and I always keep my water fresh, okay? The other thing, because I want fire as one of my elements, I have a candle on my altar as well. And I like that, and that's my fire, right? The other thing I usually have some incense. That's kind of like my air, right? It's my air, and it also can be my fire. So I have that on there. And then I have a quartz crystal. And that is because the quartz crystal, that's kind of like protection. It's going to help with, any negativity, any of that type of thing. Also, I usually have another thing I found maybe a couple weeks ago. I got a Pegasus. Pegasus for me, I love my Pegasus. Because my Pegasus for me, it represents to me freedom. It represents to me that no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to soar above everything. Whenever I really watch, I always see they always are trying to, how you can say, control Pegasus. But Pegasus always breaks away and gets free. So to me, Pegasus represents that freedom, that adventure, not only that, imagination, you know what I'm saying? It's all of those things that it represents for me. The other thing that I do is when I first start off, I light my sage, if everybody can see this, and I actually purify my space. So I will go around the room and I'll purify my space with the sage. I'll either like go all around myself, I purify myself, all of that, okay? And then also some things that I have on there is pictures of my ancestors. So this is my great grandmother, and then this is a picture of my on my dad's side, my great grandfather and grandmother. So I have those pictures on there as well. Right. So I kind of have some pictures on my altars as well. And then basically, these things are kind of like when I sit down to meditate, I have all these things that these things are kind of like the things that are important to me on my altar. And when I go to this space, I keep it kind of the same place. I go to this space. This is where I go to commune. Sometimes I'm talking to my ancestors. Sometimes I'm just talking to spirit guides or intuition. But in all essences, this is kind of like my safe space, the space where I go to community. So I want to
Nice.
demonstrate that.
Loving that.
The thing about altars is there is no right or wrong, just like we were saying about everything with your altar. It's whatever spirit calls for you, like when you're
Mhm.
going to meditation, for you to put on your altar. There's nothing wrong. Nothing, that you can put on there that's going to be the wrong thing, but it's all about just what you feel like is the things that are most important for you to put on your altar. When you go there, it's your space, and so it's whatever you feel like. There's not anything wrong. But I will say that it's very important. I think a lot of people have a stigmatism that they think something, like you're going to go there to talk to someone and something evil is going to, you're going to encounter something evil. I've never encountered anything evil. I'm of the thing that if you go to something with the right heart and the right intention, then that's all you're going to get back. Now, if you're trying to go to the altar and cast some spells on people or something like that, I don't know what's going on. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. Because you might encounter something if you're trying to cast spells and do something to some people. But I'm always going in there with the right, with the right intent and the right heart. And that's the whole thing about when you go to the altar. You want to go with a purpose. You want to have an intent. Like I'm seeking an answer about something. I'm trying to change something in my life. I need some help with something. But you want to go with a purpose. So that way, when you sit down and you get back up, hey, I wanted this answer. I got this answer. Sometimes you might not get the answer that you want. Like you're coming to your ancestors and say, I have this issue. Can you please fix it for me? But most of the time you're going to get no. I'm not going to fix it for you. I'm going to tell you kind of some ways you can approach it or whatever. I'm going to give you some hints of how to work it out, but you're going to have to still take the lesson. It's not like that. So if you think, I want to go to my ancestors so life will be easy and smooth, that's not for us. That's not what it's for. It can give you some hints and give you some help. Maybe get you some places, connect you with people a little faster, but you still gonna have to go. You still gonna have to learn the lessons. But anyway, for me, I love it. I love the time that I have there, and I look forward to it. Any questions?
Oh,
I
I love that.
that
I
is
don't have any questions, but I can say thank you so much, Goddess Juanita, because the statement that you made, as far as, okay, I can't remember now, but what was downloaded into me was that it correlated to an area in my life that I'm working on. Basically, you were saying you can either make it harder or easier or something like that. And I said, Linda, yeah, you tend to make things a little bit too hard because you don't want to reach out to other people. You don't want to be a burden. So you end up doing it alone. And I'm like, that's the kind of, it's like, okay, now you guys have opened my eyes to all these other tools I've heard about, but wasn't necessarily too curious about trying it for myself. But I'm sitting over like, girl, what's when you start implementing these other tools? It's like, it's
And I
like,
would say, yeah, and I would say, like when I sit at my altar, I do everything. I do the oracle cards at my altar. Sometimes I'm led in my meditation. It'll say, hey, Juanita, you need to pull from such and such deck and get a message. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I get all kinds of things. So it's like all these practices that we're talking about, it's not like you could just do one. You could actually sit down at your altar and do all the things, right? Do all the things we talked about. Meditate, sweep the pendulum, get an answer, pull an oracle card, talk to your ancestors. Then you can look it up all the way around. You ain't got to miss nothing. You ain't even got to choose. Like, okay, I'm gonna sit down here. I'm just gonna go through everything. It's all good.
That is so funny to me. Well, I
I
love
know
it.
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that for all of us, right, there are very different things that we do in very different ways that we commune with spirit, and at the same time, there are some things that are overlapping. Goddess April and I have talked about the fact that, I believe that spirit knows exactly how to communicate with you so that it makes sense for you. And I also am a believer that, you know, that shows up a lot of times with the way that we learn best. And it shows up in this world as something that's in alignment with our personalities as well. So
Mhm.
you see, Robin Jackson is in the
That's my sister.
oh yeah, she said
Oh,
Hi,
Robin's
hi,
in
Robin.
focus. Listen,
Thank
she's so
you.
right.
For
Yeah.
joining.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad she joined and made a comment.
Should I
Yeah,
read it?
go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, read the comment.
I have problems just keeping my mind focused to receive messages when I'm at my altar.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can
what are some
relate.
things that we can say that she can do, Goddess Linda?
Well, what she can do is one, just acknowledge it and then just bring herself back. It's like, don't be so hard on yourself, Robin. If you are, there's no need to engage in wherever you went. Just acknowledge that, oh, oops, I went off track, and then let me come back.
Mhm.
And if 3 seconds later you're off track again, just say, oops. And then that 3 seconds will turn into 4 seconds. That 4 seconds will turn into 5 seconds. And then eventually you will see that that time has actually extended,
Mhm.
but you're going to always potentially have this disruptions and staying focused.
Mhm. Yep.
I
Yep.
love that.
Another thing that I would suggest is taking a Epsom salt bath. Taking a
Mm,
bath before you meditate.
yeah.
Mhm.
And lighting a candle, because that can
Yeah.
help. I have noticed that, I don't know, y'all, sometimes I can be like, my mind is going, and I'll just take a warm bath and Epsom salt, and it just seems like it just relaxes me to the point that I'm almost sleep, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And then when I get in that state, my mind has slowed down. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes
Mhm.
before you get ready to meditate, that's another thing.
It's a
Deep
good one.
breathing or
Yes.
doing something that you know will bring your mind and bring your body. Because sometimes our lives are so active. We're like on
Mhm.
this treadmill,
Mhm.
and we need something to slow us down and bring us, into a state
Yes.
of slow and make
That
our
is so
minds
correct.
not be so busy. So I
Right.
have noticed sometimes I can take a bath, like a hot bath, and I don't know, it's something about that heat. This just kind of knocks me. And when I get out,
Mhm.
I'm just like feeling like, oh my God, I think I'm just gonna pass out. I'm so tired.
Mhm.
It seemed like to me sometimes that puts me in a better meditative, so my mind is not racing so much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And that
love it.
Epsom salt is a beautiful thing. It has a lot of magnesium in it, which is
Mhm.
that thing that puts you in a space of wanting to relax and go to sleep as well.
Mm,
Whenever you guys go to those things, I don't know if anybody has ever gotten into one of those soaps, like where they just let you float,
Oh, I
floating
want
kind
to do
haven't
that.
done it, but I want to. Yeah.
that is exactly what is in there is tons and tons and tons of Epsom salt because they want you to be in a space of ultimate relaxation. Yeah, you can get in there and fall asleep, but and,
Mhm.
and I did get the opportunity to do it a few months ago. I recommend trying it for
That's
sure.
so cool.
So yeah, Robin is still talking
I
to
think
us
I
in the
want can I just say too the
chat.
like what you said, Goddess Akili, in terms of how you learn, and so you may receive hearing.
Mhm.
Some people like to read. I mean, you can actually use things that you are in terms of receiving, right?
Mhm.
Learning, receiving. So you may want to if you're a visual or like reading, you may want to have something that is almost going to allow you can read something while you're sitting there,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
And right, because sometimes in reading without realizing, something will come in and through,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I mean, it's just how that works. For me, my mind is very busy as well, and I talk, right? I talk out loud. So I will actually just start having a conversation
Right.
and saying where I'm at, what's going on with me, and I'll start receiving answers. Like it'll be right, but it's something
Mhm.
about, I don't know if it's that Aries fire, I don't know, but I have to release and get it out. I have to talk. And then they're like, okay, child, we're gonna talk back. So that's what happens. So there's different ways, like just forcing yourself to sit still is not always necessary, I think, when you're trying to get answers, like in the case of sitting at an altar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, of course, you want to focus and try to, tame the monkey mind, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah, tame
But
that
that was
monkey.
just something that came to me. But
Mhm.
she has another question about, or a statement about being afraid of who will come through at that altar.
Hmm.
And I actually, if anyone wants to address that, please do. But I do want to say something to that.
Go ahead.
I would like to say that, and this is a place that I'm hoping you ladies are in agreement with me on this, and I understand that it's a place that is not always easy to get to in terms of trusting that you're safe,
Mhm.
or trusting that nothing outside of you has any dominion or power over you,
Mhm.
right? And so, as far as there's no need to be afraid,
Mhm.
um, if you are insisting, deciding, choosing who gets to come through and communicate with you,
Mhm.
right? You can, even if, say, you don't know who you want to connect with, but what you can be very clear on is that you want someone who is loving and has your best interests at heart to come through. Like
Mhm.
you can say, I'm open to my ancestors coming in. I just want someone who's in a great heart space, who has my best interests at heart, that is of love and light, or however you want to say it. You get to say who gets to. And I really want to shout out my goddess's voice Shay on that one, because I struggled with that early on, with like all of the fear-based stuff that I was hearing,
Mhm.
as someone who was realizing that I tend to connect with spirit and source, and I was afraid at times to allow myself to do that for that reason. And it's like I knew that, but her saying that, and I was like, thank you just for saying that I get to say that. If it's something you're not feeling, if you think you're coming up against something that doesn't feel good, you get to out loud say, no, I'm not feeling this.
Mhm.
I want love and light. That's all that's allowed in my space and around me. Whatever you need to say to feel better and to ensure that, your space, your area feels how you need it to feel, only you get to decide that.
Mhm.
Um, Now you can hand that over, right? Because when you're in a place of fear, then that is what you're going to continue to receive, is things that, scary thoughts and feelings that is going to keep that going. But you
Mhm.
can shut that down and say, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm. 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 Most definitely.
Nothing has power or dominion. You are source.
Mhm.
You are it. It is you.
Yes.
That part.
I just wanted to say that. You are
Yeah.
And
most
yeah,
welcome, guys. You are most welcome.
and I would want to say this too, is that using the black tourmaline, putting those in the corners of the room, that's supposed to be for your protection. Having the clear
Mm-hmm.
cloth, those crystals are supposed to be your protection. Using the sage to do the smudging work. Using bells, sound is another good way to bring in, get rid of positivity. And like Goddess April was saying, bring in that high vibration
Mm-hmm.
into the encounter. will attract the high vibration that you want to receive. Like I'm coming in with gratitude to my ancestors. I'm thanking them for the life that they led. I'm thanking them. I'm giving them love. I'm giving them, hey, I brought some offering to you. I'm giving you water. I'm honoring you. So I guess for me, I feel like whatever I bring, I'm going to
Hmm.
get that and more, right? So I go with the expectation of what I want to
Yes.
receive. So I have never had a bad encounter. I started doing this altar stuff maybe back in 2019. I never had a encounter. Like I said, I've had a sad encounter with my ancestors and feeling their pain, but that wasn't a scary thing to me. That was something I wanted to I wanted to know who they were. I wanted to know why they were absent in my life. I just
Mm.
think you bring that high vibe, you bring love, you bring gratitude, you're gonna get that right back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And waiting until you feel safe.
Yeah, that's true.
You
Mhm.
know, once you all of the things that you feel like you've needed, whether it's the crystals that you want to implement, building up that trust, knowing that you're safe, whatever you need to do to be in the best place before you do it. I mean, I'm not trying to talk you out of it if it's something you just want to do at any given time,
Mhm.
but it's meant to serve you. This is all about love. It's all about all of the good things, the positive, the advice, the that you can receive. So
And what
Mhm.
I would
just
like to say too
wanting
about
that
the
for
whole
you.
divination and the altars, because we don't really think about this, but we build altars and shrines to things all the time. When we celebrate, we have these President's Days where we celebrate the presidents that died, and we have all these people that we celebrate. When people die, we go to funerals, and it's all of these things. We do these
Mm,
things all the time, and it's
Mhm.
the same thing. It's nothing different. When
Mhm.
you say we're doing a Memorial Day, what are we doing? We're honoring those people that died fighting for our country. We do it
Mhm.
every year. We think nothing about it. We have a whole
yeah,
day. We have parades. We do
yeah,
celebrations. We do all of that. How is that different than going to your ancestors and talking to them and thanking them for the life that they led? It's
Yep.
nothing different. It's nothing
Yep.
different. It's the same thing. It's just
yeah,
who are you going and giving honor and praise to, because you're giving your energy to whatever you do, right? So
Mhm.
where are you focusing your energy and your attention? That's what you're
Mhm.
gonna get back. So it's like if I'm gonna go celebrate the people who died for my country or some past presidents, which I really don't really do that, uh, then hey, I'm definitely want to give thanks to the people who, if they weren't here, I wouldn't be here.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know.
Absolutely.
makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Oh yeah.
All
Let's
right, I
come
think we
on
got
and
some
put
good
stuff into
information today.
perspective. Yeah, come on and put some stuff into perspective, y'all. Okay.
Okay, this was
Well,
good.
it
Yeah.
really was,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I am so glad that we've been able to come together and shine a little bit more light on the idea of divination, right? And take some of the, I think, the nonsense and the shadow and the confusion out of it, and try to remind people as much as possible. Quantum physics has already told you, okay, now if you're not a quantum physicist, okay, but I'm
Come
just going
on,
to say quantum physics has already let us know and shown that who we are,
Mm-hmm.
down to the very most subatomic particle, is energy.
Yeah.
That is it. Pure and utter energy. Why we see separations and different things, be it this desk, be it the difference between your tooth and your face and your toenail and the cell phone, is because all of those things vibrate at different frequencies, giving them the ability to separate. But if broken down to the very tiniest compound, you are nothing more than energy, or you are all energy, then you have to realize that everything that you think that is so solid and um, long lasting and forever and permanent in this particular space just cannot be. You are more than what your eyes can simply show you. And all we are doing with divination is giving you the opportunity to tap into what's beyond what you see, what's beyond what your basic senses can show you. Okay. But yeah, however you guys want to do it out there in Goddess-ity land, you know, we're here for it.
Yes.
We definitely appreciate you hanging out with us today live. We're going to be back next week with something amazing.
As always.
That's right. It's going to be something.
That's it. Something amazing.
That's it. That's how I'm keeping it out there. We are so hopeful that you found some inspiration and insight from our discussion tonight. Remember, we talked about pendulums, we talked about oracle cards, we talked about meditation, we talked about altars and working with your ancestors. And again, that's still just the tip of the iceberg. We plan to keep bringing you information about all these different ways that you can just continue to walk in your divinity. So, yeah, do not forget to like and subscribe and share this video with those who you think might benefit just the same way that you have. And of course, until next time, make sure you embrace your inner goddess and keep looking for that wisdom that lies within. Ashe, good people.
Thank you, Ashe. Peace.